What's going on, everyone?
Hi, guys.
We're back again, and of course, we're your favorite couple, the Hubbards, and we are coming to you from New Orleans, also known as the Big Easy.
And we are back for episode 4, and this episode we're calling Let's Get Close.
Closer than close. Okay, I ain't gonna sing it. But before we jump into the episode, we do want to give a big thanks to those that participated in our marriage webinar.
What are we fighting for?
That we had a couple of weeks ago, and it was great. It was awesome. We had a lot of adult conversation that was really needed. So we thank you guys for tuning in to that, and that was just one of many to come. So let's talk about intimacy. Closer than close. What is that? Let's get closer. That's right. I tried to throw this song in there. Let's get closer. So let's get closer.
All right, so intimacy. When we say that word, what do we mean? What?
Sex.
That's what men think.
Sex.
That's not what intimacy is.
Sex. But that's what men think of when we think of intimacy. We automatically go to physical getting together with your spouse. That's what we think of when we think about intimacy. But that's not it.
And that's not to say that's not a part of intimacy,
right.
But intimacy goes so much deeper than that. And when we say that word intimacy, well, what does it mean? All right, so it means to have a close, familiar relationship, to have a familiarity with your partner. So that's not just sex, that's in every aspect of our lives.
Right. And the idea of intimacy is not only with spouses, but it's also with family, mother, father, children, all of that. There's a way to have intimacy within the family. And the sooner we learn that intimacy is not just physical and it's not just sex, then we really can begin to experience real intimacy and what it's all about. So in this video, we're going to talk about, it's five, okay, we're going to name them the
5 different types of intimacy we're going to talk about
today. I'm going to call them the Fabulous 5. Okay, I'm trying, y'all. I really am. The Fabulous 5. That's what I'm going to call them in my head. Okay. So as we go through them, I'm going to call them the Fabulous 5.
What's the first of the Fabulous 5 we're going to talk about?
Well, the first of the Fabulous 5, of course, is spiritual intimacy. You must have spiritual intimacy. That's one that you cannot do without. And we're not talking about your relationship with God. We're not talking about your individual.
Though that can be an intimate relationship. Here we're talking more about marriages and family intimacy on a spiritual level.
Right. And so this one right here is basically sharing religious beliefs, religious experiences, and practices. A time to talk about what's going on.
Sharing your faith with each other, and not just your spouse, but sharing it with your children.
Right.
Making your conversations and having those daily conversations with your children about your spiritual beliefs, so that they become their spiritual beliefs. And that's another way to create that intimate, close relationship. Some examples of that: praying together. Right.
And that's one thing we pride ourselves on, is that we pray together. We pray a lot. It's not just when things are bad, when things are good. Every day we make prayer a part of our lives. My wife and I, we pray together. We pray with the kids whenever we get ready to take a trip, even if it's the service, to Holly Springs or wherever we go. We just stop.
Walmart.
Right, even Walmart. We'll just stop and we'll pray. And we let the kids pray. And Pope Brian, he prays. Oh,
he does the best he can.
And he always mentioned dinosaurs.
He
said the thing about Brian though, but he said the other day, I always say dinosaurs. So he knows, but I don't know. But praying, that's something that can draw you closer together as a family, because when you begin to pray, you can begin to hear what the other person has on their mind, what they're thinking about, what they're going through. So that's always a good thing to do. What's another one that we can do?
Studying together.
Right.
And sometimes it could be a particular study on a particular topic that maybe you need help with in your relationship, be it your children's relationship, having that Bible study with your children. What does God say about the relationship between a parent and child? That's a study you can have with your children that builds a spiritually intimate relationship.
Right. You begin to get closer with one another, and you must learn how to be on one accord. There must be unity in the home. in order for this intimate relationship to work. We got to be on the same accord. We got to be on the same page in order for it to work. I know we do devotion at our house,
an experience.
and it's it is, and it's a great time.
Or as Brian calls it, true devotion.
Yeah, true devotion. We come together. We do a song. We do a prayer. We pick a scripture or scriptures. We read. We talk about them. We do a closing song. Do a closing prayer, and we're on our way. And
sometimes the children lead the devotion. Yeah. And I think that's great also because it gives them an opportunity to search the scriptures for themselves. So it's not just them mirroring our beliefs, but them developing their own beliefs and understanding of God's word.
Right. And the good thing is it gives them an opportunity to look into the word of God themselves, because we'll tell them, hey, you got devotion on Thursday, you got devotion on Friday. So it gives them a couple of days to look up something and come through, and you'll be amazed at how excited they get. Oh, I'm ready for devotion. I already know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to come in, I'm going to talk. And they come in and they actually give some good studies, you know.
And Brian will fight about that closing song.
Oh, he really will. If you don't let him do that closing song. And
we're going to sing the same song.
Same song. But... Jesus, I'm singing Jesus. And we're telling Brian, don't sing Jesus. Okay, Jesus, I'm singing like Brian. Come on with another song. Now, keep in mind, he knows tons of songs,
and he sings them all day long.
All day long, he knows.
But he
tons
don't always sing that one.
But one of his favorite is Black Panther.
Black Panther knocking at your door.
You know, somebody's knocking at your door. I just gotta give the rhythm. But Brian will come in and be like, Black Panther. Not like, come on, Brian, Black Panther ain't in this. But that's just a part that our family, we really look forward to doing. We enjoy it.
And especially going to worship together on Sundays.
Yep.
And just having that time to be close to each other, and also just being able to share our faith. Right. That can't help but to bring you closer as a family.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I know my wife and I, we talk about what's going on within our day. You know, especially with my wife, with her job search. We talked about that, about how God is going to move. And
that was a very trying time for me. But having spiritual intimacy in the family, the kids were even praying for me out loud. Like when they would do their prayers, it bonded us together, and it also just, you know, it felt like it wasn't just my experience, it was our experience, because they were going through it with me. And
we were all in there together. You know, we talked about it. Hey, when you get this job, and we weren't talking as if it's not going to happen. We knew that it would happen. It's just a matter of time, because that's just the God that we serve. He always comes through. He always provides. And we talk to each other about that, about how good God has been to us, and how he's blessed us in our marriage and in our work. And all of those things. And I know I talk to Brina a lot about like the work that I'm doing at the congregation, you know, some of the programs that I plan on putting on and things of that nature. And that's just that's just intimacy. That's what we do. That's us getting together, talking about our faith, talking about our God, talking about our beliefs, showing our kids how to do it. And it draws us closer and closer together. And the thing I love the most is if we're having a long day, and it gets close to the end of the day, best believe they're going to come in, oh, we forgot to do devotion.
And bring true devotion time.
Yeah, true devotion time. And so they come in and it's like, wow, they're picking up on it. And it's time that we get to spend together. And it doesn't have to be hours long. We spend sometimes 15, 20 minutes just sitting there talking about God, talking about our faith, and letting them talk about what they believe as well. So one of the fabulous 5, I like how you adopted that, is spiritual intimacy. So make sure you get close with God, of course, but get close with your spouse and your
family
as you talk about God even more. So number 2,
financial intimacy.
Okay, there we go.
And this would probably be more between a husband and wife, more so than a family intimacy experience. Because when we talk about financial intimacy, that's about sharing financial situations with each other, with your partner, and being on the same accord with your finances. And I like to think of it this way, because I know some people get married and they say, my money is my money, his money is his money, and what I do with my money is my business, what he do with his money is his business. And, you know, and that's all good. But marriage is a partnership.
Right.
And if you had a business partner and you didn't know anything about the finances, that partnership wouldn't last very long.
Nope.
And so we should not let finances get in the way to a point where they separate us, because it's all about getting closer together.
Now, I hadn't read the statistics on this, but I know that money and finances is one of the reasons for divorce. That's one of the things that can cause a divorce, not being on the same page financially. And so what we got to do is talk about finances, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. If you guys remember, I think the very first episode we did, our story, if you hadn't viewed it, go back and view it. Yeah, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I forgot to throw that in there. But if you go back to our first story, we talked about money and how it caused a rift in our relationship. And it was mainly on my part because I didn't share this with her. I felt like I needed to keep all of this to myself because I'm the head of the house, and not knowing what that truly meant, I thought that as being head of the house, it's my responsibility. Nobody else should know it. And when she tried to look, I'm gonna turn my back like this, and I tell you how much we got. And when I look and really see how much we got, I'm kind of ashamed to tell you. So I make up a number and tell you so you'll be satisfied, because I didn't want you to know how bad off we were. And then we got even worse because what I told her wasn't the truth, and she spent, and then I get mad because she spent. I mean, it was crazy. It happened that way. Like, why you spend all that money? You know we ain't have it. But I told her we had more. So you got to be on the same page. It's crazy. I know it is. I don't care if y'all judge me. Go right on the head. That's fine. But we've learned that no matter how bad it looks, it's still best to talk about those things, because I don't know what Brenda needs to buy, right? Just like she doesn't know necessarily what I need to buy. But when we talk to each other and say, hey, this is what we have, and now
establishing a budget together,
right?
Then everybody knows what's okay, what's not okay financially, and so it's an opportunity not only to draw you close, but it helps to avoid those awkward situations where your finances aren't where you thought they were.
Right. And it's a growing process. It's a growing process because finances, I don't know why it's one of those conversations that's uncomfortable, but it can be. It shouldn't be, but it can be. So if we talk more about it, if we see more about it, because it's almost like...
And taking care of it together.
Right.
Not just looking at it and saying, that's bad.
Right.
But working out strategies together, planning together, because the thing is, we're looking forward to having a long, extended future together. So now we're planning our financial future together. That's another opportunity to draw us closer. So I think those conversations have to be had, and the more you have them, the less awkward and uncomfortable they become, because now those conversations aren't uncomfortable between us. Like, hey, don't spend this until this day.
Right.
That's it.
Don't write that check yet. Hold on before you give them the check, or see if you can post date the check. But don't spend it right now. But if we don't talk about it, then it ends up going bad. And I know, like I said, especially for me, when we first got married, I didn't have a true understanding of what it meant to be the head of the house. I'm still learning. But again, I thought that was all pressure and that it was all for me. Nobody else needs to know about it. But once I learned, hey, let's talk about it, it felt like the burden was lifted. You know what I'm saying? Because we're in this together. Even though I'm the head, we're still in this together. We're close now, and we know what's going on. We even got our kids their own little debit cards, and we're showing them how to put savings up, and how they have their amount for their spending and things of that nature. So you can involve children as well with this financial intimacy, and it's never too late to start teaching them about
too early,
right? Or about finances, so they can get a grip about it as well. But yeah,
and that'll help them once they do marry, that they'll be able to better manage their finances with their spouse, and they already have been having financial conversations, so to make it easier for them to have financial conversations in the future too.
And just because you have money does not mean you're intimate with your spouse about it. So you can have the money, but if you don't have the conversations with it, that defeats the purpose. So have those conversations. What's in my account is in her account. It's our account. Now, if we want to have our separate accounts, that's fine. But as long as we have a joint account, that means she knows what's in it. I know what's in it. She knows what's going out. I know what's going out. And so that's how it needs to work. And that way you won't have any of those awkward, conversations at the grocery store when you're trying to pay for something and it won't go through. And you sitting there looking like, did you spend money on this? And, so Yeah,
that never happened, but that's funny. I was like, I could see it happening, but it didn't happen.
No, it hadn't happened. No, it hadn't happened. So, but that's one of the things that could. And could you imagine how embarrassing that would be? Mm-hmm. All because we didn't just take time out to talk about our finances. It's not. It's practical, and so therefore we need to discuss it. You got anything about that? Fabulous. Point number 2.
No, you did great.
Oh, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. I do my best, I do some of my best work when you're around, so I give you a little bit of credit. All right, now we
likes to talk in general.
I do. Now we move on to fabulous point number 3, and that is experimental recreational intimacy. Now, don't think we're talking about experimenting with drugs and nothing like that, or because people always. Experimental recreational drugs right now. We're not talking about any drugs, and I know they legalizing a lot of stuff, but this is a clean show, so we're not talking about any drug use or anything like that. So, but this particular intimacy is basically bonding during activities. This is just basically spending time with your spouse, with your family. That's what this particular bonding is, and we're going to give you a couple of ideas or suggestions that you can use to develop this particular intimacy in your relationship.
First up, date night.
Yep, we've been on a date night since Monday. A date Monday, and we have absolutely loved our time here in New Orleans. We love our babies. We love them to death. We miss them. But man, this has been great to just have.
We needed this time to reconnect, and it has served its purpose. Right. It has definitely drawn us closer. So.
Right. And so dates, but get some time with just you and your spouse.
If it's once a week, once every other week, have a designated date night, something that you're looking forward to and that you commit to with each other.
Right. And nothing gets in the way of that unless it's just utterly important that has to be taken care of. But other than that, have that date night. Set that time.
And date night is not about money.
No, it is not.
Because we've had date night just sitting in front of TV playing video games.
Yep.
Eating snacks.
Yep.
So don't make money the thing that comes between you and your spouse and date night. Because
if you take care of fabulous point number 2, money won't be an issue because you've already discussed your financial situation. So you know whether or not you can spend $100 on your date night or you can spend $10 at the Dollar Tree to get $10 worth of snacks and sit down and play cards or something. But I'm just saying, so don't make it about money. It's what you want out of your relationship. How close do you really want to be with your spouse? And that date also, we'll talk about that in a minute. Another thing, movie watching. Find a movie. You don't have to go to the movies.
Yeah, a lot of on-demand movies. Just about everybody has Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, something.
Right, that
Curl
you can
on
go
the sofa, watch a movie.
Pop you some popcorn, get you some sodas, and watch movies. Again, it ain't about money because you can go to the Dollar Tree. You can spend $1 on a bag of popcorn. You can spend $1 on drinks. So that's $3 you can spend for a movie, for a date night. So, and if you got a little change left, you can get you a couple hot tamales, Sour Patch Kids, stuff that you sneak into the movies anyway.
Doing activities together. And we're going to be practical because, everybody is very busy. That's just the lives we lead, between work, and kids, and the kids' activities and everything else we have going on. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of time. So we all have to eat. So we could prepare meals together.
Right.
We all got to do laundry. We do a lot of laundry. God, family of 5 makes a lot of laundry.
It's like everywhere.
But since it has to be done,
right.
Do it together. That's another opportunity to spend that time together. After you cook, doing the dishes together. Whatever you can do, sharing the meal together, sitting at the table together as a family, eating that meal together. Those are the recreational and experimental types of intimacy that we're talking about.
And even with that, with the kids, like we told you guys, we have a standing date night with each other. And we have one with the kids. They look forward to it. They make sure we remember too. Hey, where we going this weekend? Or what we gonna do?
Where we going Friday? Right. Friday is our time.
Right. So
family date night. We do that every other Friday, and then the following Friday is our date night.
Yep. Take them out to eat, and it draws us closer.
And let them be a part of the planning for that date night as well. Let them decide what we're going to do as a family, because they get excited about that.
No matter.
And again, those are memories that they will have for a lifetime. Again, drawing you closer, intimacy.
Let them get involved, even if one of your children don't eat nothing but nothing. Because Abigail don't eat anything. We already know it's somewhere they got grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese and French fries.
Right. Or quesadilla. So
sometimes salad, but she get funny about dressing. So
we sit there and let them argue it out, and they eventually come up with somewhere to go. So, but make sure they're involved and give them a voice in the family date night, right? Family game night. Get back,
because we've had some Monopoly battles.
Ooh, some where the kid went to bed mad.
RJ.
Yep, just mad because they didn't win. But do those Uno, Phase 10. What was the other one? Jenga. All of them. It's about spending time together and drawing closer to one another. That's what intimacy is. So do those particular things. Hobbies. Find a hobby that you like. I was looking at one of my Facebook memories that popped up the other day, and it was RJ and I. We were out building a little monster truck made out of wood, and man, RJ and I had a blast doing that. And that's what it's about. That's a memory that he'll have, I'll have, and he'll remember that time that we spent together. That's what intimacy is. Have those relationships. Find things to do. And parents, even if you don't
painting competitions.
Yeah, we had some paint. We painted some pumpkins.
Wow. And I mean, you can get a canvas at the Dollar Tree, a small canvas.
Dollar Tree gonna end up sponsoring us. But go ahead.
But I mean, they're inexpensive, quality activities you can do with the kids as a family. Lots of fun. I mean, so
go fly kites.
It's limitless.
Go fly kites.
Go out in the backyard, kick a ball.
Right. Anything. The thing is, we're making excuses for the relationships that we're not developing. Mm-hmm. And again, we take it back where we ain't got money for that. It ain't about money again. It's about doing what's necessary to have that time with them, because before long they're going to get older. Mm-hmm. And you can't get that time back. So you want them to stay close to you. So build that bond now. Get closer with them now. Find things to do. And even if it's not something that you don't like to do, but they like to do it, take an interest in it. You don't have to do it every day, but take an interest in that particular activity.
Yeah. Right. So we were actually talking about last night RJ's love for soccer.
Yes.
It's not my favorite game.
Abigail,
but he says he's going to be a professional soccer player. And all I can think about is, Lord, if he make it, I'm going to have to sit through soccer. Mm-hmm. But I'm willing to learn the game because I know that it's important to him.
Right. And so that's what we got to do. We just got to do it, man. Just do it. Mm-hmm. All right. So fabulous point number 4, since I'm an educator. 4. Y'all know what I really want to say, though, don't you? 4. Point number 4. No, point number 4, though.
Intellectual and emotional intimacy. And this one can get overlooked because we tend to not want to talk about things. Because
I'm a man and I shouldn't be sharing my feelings. And you're a little boy and you shouldn't be sharing your feelings. That's all false.
Or that old school mentality, children should be seen and not heard.
Right.
That they have feelings and emotions.
You're too young to have feelings. No, they are not. No, they are not. We got to stop listening to this stuff that we grew up on, believing that as a child, your feelings should not be validated. And as a man, your feelings, you shouldn't have any. You should just let it go.
You love to go to that.
I do.
But men don't always validate women's feelings, even if we talk about them. So this is not just talking about them, but it's validation on both sides.
Okay, then you can.
Okay, you just act like men are the poor gender. Poor
Can't stand you, but but that is true too. And when a woman has a valid point, we look at them as overly sensitive, or we look at them as just, quote, being a woman, that kind of thing. But both genders, we have a right to express how we feel. That's a part of being intimate. And as a married man, I love the fact that I can go to my wife and I can tell her exactly how I feel without her belittling me, without her, messing. Now, later on, we might come back and we might joke about it if it was a little bit too much. We might joke about it. She'll get me. But in the moment, she'll listen and we'll talk about, and even when we talk about like, dog, I really said that. Goodness, man. And then we'll get with the jokes and stuff. Yeah, but express the way that you feel. Have somebody that you can talk to, and husband and wife, you should be able to go to your wife or your husband, and you should be able to tell them exactly how you feel, what you're thinking about. And
this also includes being able to share your fears, because a lot of times we don't like to do that.
Right. Because
that's another part of the fear, but we fear that other people will say, that's nothing to be afraid of. But
we're afraid of their judgment on it.
Yeah.
How they'll view us from that point on, how they'll look at us from that point on if we express. That's why you got to find somebody you can share in a safe space. Husbands and wives, that should be the safest space that you can share with, not with your best friend or anybody, but your wife, your husband should be your best friend. I know, boo. Like that. So you should be able to share that with them. And I know me, one of my biggest fears is going to jail. That's one of my biggest fears, going to jail. And I think I've told a lot of you that have heard me talk about this, and you know why. Look how small I am. And look how good I look. I already know I'm going to be somebody Mrs. Hubbard in there. No, I ain't trying to go to jail. That's one of my biggest fears. I don't even watch jail shows. You know how they put those jail shows, the documentaries? I don't watch those because I have nightmares, No, sir. I don't look good in orange.
I laugh now, but I respect his fear. And those shows don't bother me, but I don't watch them when he's in the room because I know that that's a fear of his, and I validate that.
I don't care about y'all laughing. Laugh on, have fun. Y'all just afraid to tell what y'all scared of. Clowns. Y'all scared of clowns.
But even those more deep and intimate fears,
right.
Your own mortality, right. And what that means for your spouse and for your children. And those are conversations that get hard for us to have, but you should be able to create a safe space where you can have them. And not, again, just with your spouse, but parents should be a safe space for their children to talk about their feelings, right. Fears, and emotions as well.
Right. And with the whole mortality thing, people don't like to talk about death, but it's a conversation that must be shared. You got to talk about that. I know that's one of my fears as well, knowing that I have to go, but leaving my family, you know what I'm saying? If I go first, it's just one of the things that you have to talk about. Don't be afraid to discuss those, have plans for those things, because look, death is real. It can happen at any moment. And so talk to your spouse about those things. Talk to your children about those things, that if I have to die, I'm going to be gone. But what then comes after that? They need to know about that. So
we had this conversation with my parents when we were in Georgia. And I did not want to have this conversation. Another of my sisters did not want to have this conversation, but my other sisters were like, we have to have this conversation. Like, we know we need to have it, but we don't want to because nobody wants to think about that. But the reality is, I didn't know their plans. So what would happen if we never had that conversation,
right?
And something happened to them? So though it's uncomfortable, you have the conversation for clarity. And again, intimacy.
Right.
This creates closeness. And I'm even though we don't want to imagine or the thought of one day my parent not being here, my child not being here, my spouse not being here, reality is you could be the one who leaves here.
Right.
So you need to express what your needs and desires, your wants and desires are as well. So.
Right. And you can't be afraid of that. And that's not the only thing to talk about when we're talking about
those are some of the major conversations that we avoid.
And one of the things I talk to Brent all the time about, I'm afraid of being a failure as a father. I think that's why I try to make sure I go above and beyond, because I don't want to be viewed as a failure for my family, for my wife as a husband, and for my kids as their father. I don't want to be viewed as a failure. And so those are things to talk about. I know with RJ, he was afraid. He's afraid to go to fourth grade.
Yes, yeah, he literally tanked his last math test in third grade in hopes of not going to fourth grade. But the boy had brilliant grades, so he still finished with an A. But he thought that would keep him from having to go to fourth grade.
He was afraid. But how do we know? We talked to him about it.
Yeah.
We talked to him. He told us about it. There was a fear of his. Yes, he's 9, but he still had a fear. And we didn't say, "Oh, you're too young to be afraid. I don't need you being." No, we sat down, we talked to them, and we hashed it all out. And that's because we believe that our children, they have a voice. And if there's something that's bothering them, they can come to us and they can talk to. We're not going to put them out and say, you're too young to be feeling like that or this, that, and the other. It's about having that relationship. It's about being close. Mm-hmm. You got anything? What was that? Was that up? Yeah. And I'm afraid for my children to grow up. I'm afraid, man, this world is a beast. It's brutal. And that's a fear of mine, for them to grow up into this world. It's an even bigger fear for them to grow up without either of us around, or without one of us around, for them to grow up. But I believe that if we continue to teach them, if we continue to provide for them and show them the way, they'll be all right. That's just a fear that we have to eventually get over. So
yes, I'd always said that I was just going to go and move wherever they go, because I just can't let them go. No, he won't go.
No, sir.
We have a long distance relationship.
No, we're not having a long distance relationship. They'll be 30 years old, still trying to come in the room, sleep in our room. No, don't worry about it. So we good. We're good. We're good. All right. That was it on that? Yeah. All right. And now we move on to the 5th point of the fabulous 5. And this one is physical.
Physical intimacy.
Yeah.
That's the one that gets you excited.
Yeah. But again, it's not just sex.
That's what I was about to say. It's so much more than that.
It is. And with this particular physical intimacy, there's a physical intimacy that you have with your spouse. There's also a physical intimacy that you have with your children.
Right. We'll start with children.
Yeah, we'll start with children. So,
holding hands, which at 9, I cannot make my son stop doing.
Get your hands.
But he's such an affectionate kid.
He is.
And so he loves touch. So he loves to hold hands. He'll hug you 100 times a day. But that's how he expresses his intimacy. You have to be open and willing to express that physical intimacy with your children. Hugs. Big hugs.
Mm-hmm. Kisses on the forehead.
On your cheeks.
Right.
I love them.
Right.
I miss our babies.
Yeah, I miss them too. And so that's and like one of the things they do when I come home, and it's just great. As soon as I hit the door, Dad is home. They race to try to see who's gonna hug me first.
I'm hugging him
first. I'm hugging him first. And
I'm first.
That's the intimacy. That's the closest that we're talking about. Sometimes they'll come and they'll wrap around my legs, and I have to walk with both. Where I have 2 legs, so one I'll hold, and the other one I have to walk with them on my legs. That's just them getting close to me. That's what it is. They'll come in the bedroom and they'll snuggle up under Brenham, and I have nowhere to go.
Just a bed full of babies, right? Like little cats all under you.
And that's what they do, and we let them get that in. We want that closeness with them, that physical touch that they want, that they can experience with us, so they'll know what it's all about.
And it will help them to be able to express themselves physically with others. They'll eventually be parents one day. I don't remember having that type of a physical intimacy with my parents.
Right.
I knew my parents loved me, but it wasn't expressed that way. Mm-hmm. And so it made it harder for me when I became an adult to be able to express intimacy in that way.
Mm-hmm. And I growing up, I would be kind of, feeling a little certain way when I saw other kids, other boys with their fathers boxing and play fighting, and doing all those things, because I just didn't have that, but now I do, and I can express that with my kids. We wrestle sometimes, we punch around and do little things like that. So that's something that I enjoy doing, and they enjoy it as well. So
yeah. So now about the physical intimacy between spouses.
I'm an expert in that right there. Yeah. Know all about that. Wrote the book on it. Nah, just playing. Still learning. But physical
I was
intimacy.
about to ask you if you read it after you wrote it.
Yeah, I read it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Look now. But physical intimacy between spouses, holding hands, that's a way to create closeness.
Which typically means if we go out as a family, I have One Ralph on this hand.
Yep.
One Ralph on that hand.
And this hand, I'm using not so we can stay together, so she can't run away. She trying to pull away, but no, you ain't going nowhere. I got you now. That's why I'm holding this hand so she can't run away. People, oh, they so nice. No, we're not. I'm just trying to keep her here with me. That's all I'm doing. But holding hands though, I mean, you know, like if we're just standing around, putting your arm around her waist, you know, holding her from behind, you know, those are things that create intimacy. And I love when my wife rub my head, you know. I love when my wife rub my head, you know, like that. Or, you know, she rubs on, you know.
I wouldn't do it on the head.
You know, I mean, all you doing is rubbing my head. I don't think we'll get banned for that. Goodness, you know. So, but yeah, that type of thing, touch, hugs.
Your knee squeeze.
Yeah.
That's typically like my encouragement for him on Sundays. I just give him a squeeze on the knee right before he goes up to preach.
Yep, and that means everything. That's just the closeness that we have, you know, giving each other hugs, you know, and
that's another way when he knows I'm not happy. He don't get that knee squeeze.
Don't get that knee squeeze. Oh, can't squeeze my knee, at least touch it, you know, thump it, you know, something. But yeah, and it's funny because our kids, they kissing again.
Disgusting.
That's so disgusting. Yeah, but hey, gross them out. Show them what intimacy is physically. Let them see that a husband and wife can be intimate with each other.
They even have the baby doing it now.
Yeah, they even have a little brain doing it. Yeah, and then within that also, of course, is sex. That is a part of physical intimacy, being with one another, being one with each other. That is a part of it. And spouses, if you're not doing that, you are not, first of all, not in accordance with God's will.
Yeah, you're robbing your spouse.
Right. Now, we're not talking about that where it cannot happen, because even if sex can happen, physical intimacy still can take place. Mm-hmm. But if sex can happen and is not being done, you're robbing one another. You are. And it may be one's drive is not as well as the other, or this, that, and the other.
But that goes back to that emotional, intellectual intimacy, talking about it.
Yeah. So it got to be creative. Just saying. There is no excuse for us not to have physical intimacy with our spouses. None whatsoever. So we didn't want to go into a lot of detail about it because I think we read the books on the birds and the bees. So leave that to the imagination of what can be done in that area. Mm-hmm. So that's why we didn't want to, you know. But again, because our kids, they watch these videos too. And we're not ready to tell them what we're talking about right now. So.
No.
And y'all been not telling me.
Yeah, asked me and I said I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know. But yeah, they watch it too. So.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah. So the Fabulous 5. Spiritual.
Financial.
Experimental, recreational.
Emotional, intellectual.
And physical intimacy. Practice these things and you will become closer with your partner, your spouse, your children.
In every aspect of your lives and of your relationships.
Right. So we just wanted to throw that little tidbit of information out there. We know we've been out for a while, but we were working on the other project, but now we're back. We're going to try to come to these videos once every 2 weeks, or maybe weekly, depending on how we feel. So
yeah, because I get tired.
Yeah, me too. So,
Mister, we're not old yet.
Yeah, we kind of got old yesterday. We down here in New Orleans and we've been walking everywhere. Yesterday we took a nap about 7.
All my steps.
We took a nap about 7 hours yesterday.
It was so tired. Mister, and we're not gonna be down there
we
taking
be old,
naps.
Man, I don't think I was the first one out, but it's been great though. It's been great. So we've been enjoying ourselves, and we thank you guys for following along, taking this journey with us. We appreciate it, and we hope that you continue to go along with us.
And be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. We love getting your comments and your feedback. Please share with your friends and family, and please keep watching.
Right? Keep watching. And once again, favorite couple, the Hubbards, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.